Okay, so I'm starting out with Tarte Shape Tape, and I'm just applying that under my eyes. And I'm going to blend that out with a Beauty Blender. And I'm just kind of doing that in a triangle shape, straight down from my nose and then up along my cheekbone. And I'm just using the Beauty Blender to kind of dab that through. Next, I'm going to take a Estee Lauder Double Wear, and I'm using the shade Accru. And I'm going to pop that on a Beauty Blender as well. And I'm just going to put that over my entire face. And on the areas that I want a little extra coverage, you'll see me kind of pounce the Beauty Blender off of my face. Just working that in, making sure that everything's covered. It has buildable wear, so sometimes I'll just kind of go through for multiple coats if I need a little bit more coverage somewhere. And then I'm going to take Bare Minerals Matte. It is a matte finishing powder. And I just use this to set the foundation. And I'm going to put that over my eyelids. I forgot to put my foundation on. And I just kind of blot it on instead of swirling it because I don't want to remove the foundation that I just applied. So just kind of setting that, tamping it into my skin. And then I put a little bit more of that, just the Bare Minerals Matte powder on my finger. And I'll spot treat any areas that are a little bit more problematic or not covering as well. So again, just tapping some of that on more problematic areas, and that'll give me a little bit more coverage. I'm going to use the Benefit Gimme Brow. This is kind of like a brow gel, but it does have fibers in it as well. And I'm just going to rake this through my brows. I'll use this if I want something that looks really natural and I don't care if it's perfectly defined. So I'll usually just go through, put that through my entire brow. And then at the very end, you'll see me kind of brush everything up. That'll make it look a little bit fuller and a little bit more fluffy. And if you want to be a little bit darker, you can always go in for an extra coat, and that'll make it a little bit thicker, darker, and more defined as well. Okay, I'm going to go in with my Lorac Pro palette, and I use this thing for everything. So I'm going to use those two lightest shades, and I'm going to put that over my brow bone, and that's just going to help to blend out any color that I'm going to put through the crease. And I'm actually going to use that same palette, and then I'm going to take a different fluffy brush, and I'm going to use the lightest contour shade, and that's going to go right through my crease line. Just working that back and forth. And then I'm going to go in with the darker color in that palette as well. I'm going to put that through my crease line, and also that's going to end up going on my lid as well. And then just kind of working in circles and back and forth just to buff that out, make sure that the color is really, really blended. And since I've already done my foundation and my concealer and everything, I always just make sure I get all of the excess off of the brush before I put it on my eye so I have less fallout. So I use the Stila liquid shadows. This one is in the color Dolish. It's kind of like a pinky gold, and it has an iridescence to it. So depending on the lighting, sometimes it looks more pink, sometimes it looks more gold. But I love these. They're super fast and easy, and it's a great way for you to do something really simple that looks like you put in a lot more effort than you actually did. And so I put that on just in short little strokes, and then I will take it and just kind of go right above my crease line as well. And it's a really good way to make like a cut crease super easily. So just smoothing that out, make sure that everything is really nice and even. And then I'm going to go in with the Cheek Stars palette. This is by Benefit. I use this, I use the blush and the highlighter from this palette. I use the highlighter on my inner eye, and then I also am going to use a fluffy brush, the same one that I used for on my brow bone. And I'm just going to apply a little bit of that highlighter underneath my eye as well. I like doing that just because I think it makes it look a little bit more finished, makes the eyes look a little bit more open and bright. Check that out, make sure it all looks good. Let's pop that right on the brow bone. You always want to highlight the highest points on your face. And then this is my favorite mascara. I only use the step 1 side, so that is the L'Oreal Voluminous Fiber Mascara. But again, I don't use the fiber side, I just use the number 1 side. My lashes are crazy long right now because I've been using the Borboleta Lash Serum. So I don't need to curl them, and I don't need any additional steps or anything like that. I just put a nice coat on, spread all my lashes out so that everything's really visible, and make sure that I hit the tip, since that's where mine tend to be a little bit more blonde. And then I'm gonna go in with good old Maybelline Great Lash, and that is gonna go on my bottom lashes. I love this formula for bottom lashes. It's not heavy, it's not overly waxy, and so it's really nice just for a really natural looking finish. So that's just gonna go right on my bottom lashes, just for a little added dimension and definition. And then I'm gonna take the Balm Schwing liquid liner. And so you may be able to skip this step. If you have more of a fleshy kind of under eye area, then this is a great step to do. It's called tight lining. And so it just makes your makeup look a little bit more finished. I'll kind of have a gap between my lashes and my lid, so this just kind of closes that gap, makes everything look a little bit more polished and finished. If you're naturally a blonde, I highly recommend doing this step just because it's gonna look a lot more finished. You can kind of see the difference from one eye to the next. A small change, but it does make a difference. And Brian came in and asked me if I wanted a hot dog, so. And I just kind of jiggle that between my lashes just so that it gets in there. It's a little bit easy to miss sometimes. I'm gonna go back with that Lorac Pro palette, and I'm gonna use the medium shade. And I always start with kind of a lighter shade first, and I'm just gonna work my contour in the areas that I want it to be. Make sure that I'm buffing out really, really well. If you don't have a super tiny forehead, you don't need to worry about contouring your forehead. I'm gonna hit under my cheekbones, and then along the sides of my nose as well, just to define that a little bit. And then I'm gonna go back in with the darker color, and that is just gonna kind of deepen everything, but because I went in with that lighter color first, it's gonna give me a really nice blend. And then I'm just gonna feather that down. Back to the forehead. So basically, contouring is creating shadows on any area that you wanna minimize or to recede. So I'm gonna get my jawline, right around my hairline, just to blend everything in, and then back to buffing just to make sure that there's no strong lines. And then I'm gonna go back in with that Cheek Stars palette, and I'm gonna use the blush from that palette. I like this one, it's just like a nice neutral. And I'm gonna hit the apples of my cheeks and just work that up right above the contour. So if you think of it kind of like building a house, the contour's the foundation, and then the blush, and then the highlight goes right on top. So I'm gonna hit the tops of my cheekbones. I'm gonna go down the bridge of my nose. I already highlighted the brow bone area, and then my forehead. And then I always do a little bit on my Cupid's bow as well. Typically I would apply lipstick, but right now we're wearing masks, so that's not really essential. So that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed it.